Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, this session handled by the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland about our International Residency Training Program. So, Mahaba, welcome to everyone. We are very happy and we are very glad to have all of you attending this session from our friends, partners in the Middle East. So the session today, it will be about our residency training residency training program that is starting, it's opening for the application today. And we are gonna share with you some ideas, some overview about this program. And also we hope this will be a good opportunity for you to raise your questions and ask for clarification in the end. So we have the opportunity to have here some people who are very passionate about the program and support us during the whole process. We have Mrs. Clina Martin, who is the manager of the Global Training and Partnership Program at RCPI. We have Mrs. Hannah Flynn. She is the head of the postgraduate servicing at Childcare Education. So she will explain you a little bit about this support and what is provided for you during the training and before the training. We also have the opportunity to have here with us Professor Michael ONeill. He is the program director for the International Residency Training Program in Pediatric, and Dr. Danny Sherian. He's the program director for the International Residency Training Program in Internal Medicine. So we think that is very important to say, to hear about the program from those who are actually doing the program. That's why we also have Dr. Sutton Fatih here as well. So he's in the second year of his training here at RCPI in the Internal Medicine Program. So they will present you about the program. We will talk a little bit about the possibilities and what is expected for you to do during your training. And at the end of the presentation, we will have the opportunity to answer your queries and your clarify any questions that you have. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and we will try our best to reply to all of them during this presentation. But if not, we will also share with you our email so you can keep in contact with us during the whole process as well. So thank you again for your participation. And now I will hand it to you to Clina, who will present to you this amazing program. I hope you enjoy. Thank you, Clina.
Thanks, Diana. Hello to everybody. I'll just share my screen here. So hello, and thank you for joining us today, which is really the first step through your international residency journey. So you're very welcome. We're very privileged to be part of this with you. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about Ireland and a little bit about RCPI, and then of course the residency programme. And if you have any questions while I'm speaking, that's great. Just type them in the chat box or the Q&A box at the end, at the bottom. And if any of our panelists have anything that they'd like to add when I'm speaking, I do encourage them to jump in as well. If I've forgotten something or there's something you'd like to add, that's welcome as well. So first of all, I'm going to presume that many of you have not been to Ireland before. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is basically take you on a little 60-second holiday to Ireland, so you can see a little bit what the country is like. So here is Ireland in 60 seconds. So hopefully you liked that little taste of Ireland. So a little bit more about Ireland, or the Emerald Isle. Ireland is quite a small island. It's home to just under 5 million people. As you can see from that video, there's lots of green rolling hills. And to have that, does mean we get a lot of rain. So we do have quite a mild climate. Our average temperature is about 10 degrees. So we do really have the 4 seasons. Sometimes we have the 4 seasons in one day, which can be a bit much, but it is quite a nice climate. And what some other trainees have mentioned, what they really enjoyed when they were over here doing the program, is that they could, walk places. They could walk to work, they could go for a walk in the park, or just walk to their friends' houses. So the climate really does accommodate that kind of lifestyle. We are an EU member state, which is fantastic. And we're also very well connected to really the rest of the world. So you can be in London from Dublin in 40 to 50 minutes. The rest of Europe is on your doorstep. So I myself was in Madrid a few weekends ago. So I just went for a long weekend. So it's very easy to see the rest of Europe from Ireland. It's also very close to the Middle East. So the flight from Dublin to Abu Dhabi is 7 hours, which is an important consideration for you if you're going to be here for 3 years. There's certain events and family things that you don't want to miss out on, and it's easy enough to travel home if there's something on. And also North America, it's about 6 hours to New York. So really, a great stepping stone to the rest of the world. Now, Ireland does have a native language, but most Irish people cannot speak it very well, and English is the spoken language. So you will see, if you're in Ireland, that street signs and things like that will have the English name and the Irish name, but you will not need to know any Irish at all. Nobody really speaks it. Ireland it's a very safe and friendly country. So Ireland was voted number 3 in the of the world's safest countries on the Global Peace Index. So it is a very friendly, safe country, very multicultural as well. About 12% of the population in Ireland are non-nationals. And it's very friendly. Even my friends who are not Irish, when they first came to Ireland, they thought it was amazing. If they were on the side of the street with a map or their phone out looking at Google Maps, they said within about 5 seconds, an Irish person would come to them and say, "Are you lost? Do you need help?" And, I do that if I see somebody that looks a little bit lost. So it is a very friendly and safe, very warm, welcoming country. And really very important for all of you, Ireland is really internationally recognised for excellence in postgraduate medical training. So a little bit about the Royal College of Physicians Ireland, or as we call it, RCPI. So our mission is a globally connected community of doctors learning together to improve people's health. And that's really important, because you come here and you do your residency and you go home. That's not the end of it. You're part of the RCPI community, and you've made connections with your peers on the program, your consultants, trainers that you will have for the rest of your career to connect with and to communicate with at times that you might need just to catch up on, or for advice as well. The college itself was founded in 1654 by Dr. John Stern, and it was founded by Royal Charter. And there is a lot of things that RCPI offers. Now, most important for you at this time is the postgraduate medical training. But RCPI is really there to, support their doctors throughout their careers. So after your postgraduate training, that's not the end of it. There are specialist exams, there's professional competence schemes, continuing professional development, clinical leadership programs, research, QI assurance programs, and policy and advocacy. So, that we're really there for you throughout your career to support you. A little bit about our faculties and institutes. So we have the Institute of Medicine, Faculty of Pediatrics, and they're really the 2 most important for all of you today. But just to let you know, we also have the Institute of Obs and Gynae, we have the Faculty of Pathology, Faculty of Public Health, and also the Faculty of Occupational Medicine. So for the clinical residency programs, we offer them in internal medicine and pediatric medicine. And this is kind of how it looks, just so you can see alongside, the national Irish doctors and the international doctors. So the basic training for national doctors is 3 years, and the international residency training is also 3 years. And these programs are the same as each other. So you'll be training alongside Irish doctors as well on the program. And then after residency program, there's the option of higher specialist training for national doctors or clinical fellowship programs, which are 2 to 3 years. And there are slight differences in them. And you can see that due to the duration of them. So there's clearly some differences. But for all of you today, the residency program for international and national doctors are one of the same. So a little bit about the residency programs. It is really hands-on clinical training. They are 3 years in duration, and there's structured rotations across the different specialties and hospitals. So you really get to try everything and kind of have a really broad range on your program as well. You'll have the membership exam, the RCPI, in your relevant specialty. And normally you might do the part 1 before you start. And by the time you finish your program, you will have completed the whole exam. And then very importantly as well, all your qualifications on the residency program are recognised for registration purposes when you return home to your home country and really start that next phase of your career after your training. Within the residency training, there's really 4 core elements, okay? So within the hospital-based training, doctors complete clinical training activities, and that will be outlined in your curriculum. You'll participate in ongoing training, and also you'll track and record your process and how you're doing against your curriculum on our e-portfolio system. There'll also be assessments and mandatory and some non-mandatory workshops that you can attend. And at the end of each year, you'll have, a formal annual evaluation progress as well, just to track everything for the year before, for the year that's just passed. So there are a lot of supports. So for clinical and academic supports, you'll have your program director, and they're very important. So you'll most likely be interviewed by them. Then they will design the program curriculum, and they'll also select the trainees for the program and really assist in the induction and also that annual evaluation process as well. And the program director will also not only provide support to you, the trainee, but also to the trainers to make sure it's a very cohesive and well-run system. There's also the clinical tutor, and the clinical tutor is very important. They'll help you with your RCPI part 1, so giving you tutorials, and that's before you join the program. And then also when you're on the program, that care as well and time to help you with the RCPI part 2, and that's the written and clinical part of the program. Also, the clinical tutor is there to really just help you adjust. This is, it's a new healthcare system, understanding the differences and helping you settle in at the start of the program as well. Now, the residency in internal medicine, so this is just a snapshot, and so our doctors will talk about these in more detail later on today, but the rotations are divided between secondary and tertiary hospitals. So you'll have about 18 months at a regional or secondary care site and 18 months at a tertiary care site. Now, there are 5 core elements for internal medicine rotations: cardiology, endocrinology, gastroenterology, geriatric medicine, and respiratory. The majority of trainees will complete all 5, but you must complete at least 3. And there is also an opportunity within the last 6 months of your program to do a specialty, an area of specialty, and this will have to be agreed with your program trainer and the training site closer to the end of your program. And as I previously mentioned, before you finish your residency in internal medicine, you will have completed and achieved the RCPI as part of your qualification. Now, for the residency in Pediatrics, the rotations are divided again between secondary and tertiary hospitals, and they're also divided between general and pediatrics and subspecialty rotations. So, you get a lot of exposure to different areas and different hospitals within the program as well. So our partner hospitals, as I mentioned, Ireland is quite a small island. So you can see here Dublin to Galway. I think you can drive from Dublin to Galway in about 2 hours. So it shows you the breadth of the country. So in Dublin, we have a selection of hospitals for training, but also in Galway and Limerick and also in Cork. And all of these are wonderful cities, very friendly and great places to live and work as well, and great opportunities within the hospitals. So in terms of relocation and program supports, we understand that moving to a new country it's a big thing. It's massive, and also getting to grips with a new healthcare system. It's very exciting, but it can be daunting, and we want to remove that daunting aspect from it so it can just be exciting for you. So we have lots of supports in place to help you every step of the way. So in a few moments, Hannah will speak to you in more detail about the English language tutoring and relocation support. That's Hannah from Castell Education. So that's a free service that we offer to all our trainees coming on board. Also within RCPI, we have Dale who'll speak as well, and that's a dedicated program coordinator and program management team. And they're there helping you along with Castell in every aspect from, you know, your registration with the Irish Medical Council, getting your visas. You know, we really are there for every step of the journey with you. And then, of course, there's the dedicated program director for each specialty and overall associate director as well, looking after the academic side and the clinical side of your experience. Within RCPI, we have many other programs of support, for example, health and wellbeing, and much more as well. So we really are there to make sure it's really seamless and enjoyable and exciting experience for you. So I'm sure after all that, you're dying to apply. So applications have opened today. They will close on the 30th of September. The interviews and offers are normally around November, December, and you will start in your post in January 2025. So the application, you can apply online on the website, but you can also request to have the link sent to you if you need to, if you have any problems accessing it on the website. So you can just contact us at internationalaffairs@rcpi.ie. Now, very important, the criteria for doing your application. So there's some things that you must have, okay? So you must have completed your primary medical degree, and that must be through English, and have completed or be quite near completion of your structured internship and have an appropriate level of clinical experience. Now, there are other things that are nice to have at the time of submitting your application, but are not required when submitting your application. And that's the full English language requirement, part or full MRCPI exam in your chosen specialty, and provisional sponsorship from your government sponsorship body. In terms of what you do need to commence training, so this is, you know, if you've submitted your application, you've had a successful interview, and these are the things that now you really have to work on getting if you've been offered a place. So you have to have your English language, English language level, and that's an IELTS of 7 or OET of a B grade, confirmed sponsorship from your sponsorship body, and then one of the following listed exams. So we do say to trainees, if you don't have any of these listed, we suggest that you go for the MRCPI Part 1, because you will need to have Part 1 and Part 2 done within the 3 years of your residency programme, okay? So that's the list there. Any questions on that, you can ask us at the end or email us at any stage if you need more clarification. And the fun part, we look for a short video. So this is just, and there's steps how to do this on the application form. So it's just a short video, 3 minutes, introducing yourself, letting us know a little bit about your career to date and your motivations for applying to the programme. Do not worry about this. This is very informal. Imagine if you met myself or Diana or any of the doctors in a coffee shop and you're having a quick chat. It's very casual, you know, don't overthink it, just press record and talk into the camera, okay? And to have a standout application, really spend time on your CV and your online application. Make sure it's well structured and very clear. Make sure you have all your supporting documents attached, and also really demonstrate your interest and experience in your chosen speciality. And that includes if you've attended any conferences or workshops, make sure you let us know that. Let us know everything to show us how committed you are to this, and any experience you have in research, audit, or quality improvement. Now, you know, sometimes it's great to speak to us or speak to some of the trainers, but you might want to speak to some of the doctors already on the programme. Now, luckily, we have some of them here with us today, but at a later date, you can access our system online. So you can find this on our website. You can also use the QR code there, and you can talk to doctors that are currently in our training programmes to learn from them directly what their experience has been like to date and any advice they might have. And that's kind of it. You know, myself and Diana are here all the time. You know, Diana's from Brazil, I'm from Ireland, 2 nationalities that love to talk. So we're always happy to speak to you. So please feel free to get in contact with us at any stage if you have any questions, whether it's about the programme or about Ireland or anything like that. We understand this is a big undertaking, it's a big decision, and all your questions are valid, and we want to help you with the process. So thank you very much. I will hand you now over to Hannah from Castell, who's going to talk about all the wonderful help that they can offer you in your journey to Ireland.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cliona. I'm just going to share my screen with you guys, if that's okay. Perfect. So yeah, as Cliona said, my name is Hannah and I'm head of postgraduate services here at Castell Education. So first of all, thank you to Diana and RCPI for inviting us to take part in today's webinar. What we would like to do is just go through with you over the next 10 minutes or so, talk to you a little bit about the English requirements for your programme and the English language tuition that we provide here at Castell. And then just give you a brief overview then of what a typical doctor journey looks like with Castell and the supports that we provide to you before you arrive in Ireland and then once you are here, here in Ireland. So the English language, requirements, the Medical Council and the HSE will accept either an academic IELTS certificate dated within the last 2 years with an overall band score of 7 and a minimum score of 6.5 in each skill, or an OET certificate in medicine dated within the last 2 years with a minimum grade of B in each skill. It's important to note that there are different modes of the exam. So both the IELTS and OET, they offer paper-based exams in centre and a computer-based exam in centre, and then also offer an online exam at home. So the Medical Council and the HSE will accept both the centre-based exams, but they do not accept the online OET or online IELTS at home. Okay. So what happens when you are referred to Castell for English language? So once RCPI refers a trainee to Castell, we'll send you a welcome email just outlining the English language service that we provide. We gather information then on the trainee's exam preferences, whether you want to focus on IELTS or OET, your level of English, if you have an exam booked, and your availability for tuition. Each trainee then is assigned a personal, professional English language tutor who will work with them on a one-to-one basis. So the tutor will carry out an initial diagnostic assessment with the trainee just to determine their level and any gaps or skills that require the most attention. We also provide then a correction service. If writing is one of your weaker skills, just a correction service is available to focus on that skill. Or for example, if speaking might be a skill that needs attention, there's one-on-one speaking practice available for that. The tutor will track the trainee's progress and feedback is provided to RCPI on a fortnightly basis in relation to trainee engagement and progress. So Castell works then with the trainee until they sit their exam. So once the results are received, we'll review and verify them. So if a trainee has met the English language requirement, they're referred to me then for relocation support, or if the trainee hasn't met the English language requirement, they'll continue then with their English language tuition. So the type of English language tuition, I suppose the duration of it, as I mentioned, those who have met the requirement just come directly to me. If a doctor is short in one skill in their IELTS or OET, we usually provide them with approximately 6 weeks of one-to-one tuition. And then if a doctor is short in 2 or more skills, or maybe you don't have any IELTS or OET experience, then you're provided with approximately 8 weeks of one-to-one tuition. So moving on, I suppose Castell Education is responsible then for the non-academic matters relating to your programme. So once you have met all the requirements of the programme, including your English language preparation, you're then referred to me. So the first thing I'll do then with the trainee is just organise a video call with you to introduce myself and just go through all the different ways that will support you. And start with you then on the first step of the process, which is your medical counsellor registration. As you can see here, it's divided into 2 steps. So EPIC, your electronic portfolio of international credentials, which can take about maybe 4 to 6 weeks to complete. But the good news is that we can work with you on the second part, which is the online medical counsel application and supporting documents. we can work with you on that at the same time. So it might take approximately 4 weeks for you to submit your medical council application in full. And then once the full application is submitted, the time it takes for the medical council to process it can be variable. Once you receive your certificate of registration from the medical council, RCPI will apply for your work permit, which is called the atypical working scheme. This can take around 2 weeks. At the moment, it's taking about 2 to 4 weeks to process. Obviously, busy times it can take a bit longer, and sometimes it can come through faster. But as soon as you receive your work permit, we here at Castell then will give you visa application guidelines to support you in submitting your visa application. And once you've submitted the application, it can take around 4 weeks for your visa to be issued. And then as soon as you receive your visa, you can book your flights to come to Ireland immediately. So as you can see, there are a number of key steps that are involved before you arrive in Ireland. And each of those steps is like a building block onto the next step. And then once you arrive in Ireland, we provide you with ongoing support for the entire duration of your program. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in more detail later. So the types of support that we provide, I've gone through the English language tuition already. So in relation to the medical council application, as I said, we help you with EPIC, with getting your credentials verified in EPIC, guide you through that process. And we send you step-by-step guidelines for how to complete your online medical council application form. We go through the supporting documents that you need to get notarized as part of the application, and just review your application for you and all the supporting documents before you submit. In terms of immigration, as I mentioned, once your atypical working scheme letter of approval, your work permit is received, we'll send you detailed guidelines on how to apply for your visa. So there'll be visa advice notes in English and Arabic. We can review your online visa application for you before you submit it. And we can also provide you with templates just for some of the documents that are required. If you have any family members, so a spouse or children who are coming with you for the duration of your program, or if you have family members who plan on visiting you, we can guide you through their visa applications as well. Then once you're here in Ireland, we'll guide you through the process of applying for your Irish residence permit, your IRP card, which essentially takes over from your visa once you're here and gives you the permission to remain in Ireland. Then sometimes we have trainees who need to travel to the UK, Europe, the US, wherever, maybe for a conference or courses, things like that as part of your program. So we can provide you with advice on how to apply for the visas for those third countries. And we're happy to liaise with Irish Immigration on your behalf should any issues arise. So then once a doctor sends us the travel details, we'll arrange a driver to pick you and your family up at the airport and transfer you to your temporary accommodation. So each doctor then is provided with a personalised welcome pack upon arrival. And then during your transition, there will be an out-of-hours support service available to you should something urgent arise. And after arrival, we'll arrange a welcome video call with you just to talk you through what you should be prioritising in your initial weeks here in Ireland. Accommodation. So I suppose accommodation is a really big one for doctors. While the rental market is quite challenging at the moment, we will support you every step of the way. So we provide you, first of all, with advice on temporary accommodation options, so maybe hotels and short stay apartments. We'll work with you to establish your accommodation preferences. And then based on your requirements, we can send you permanent accommodation options for your consideration. We're happy to liaise with landlords or estate agents on your behalf. We'll arrange appointments for you to view properties that you're interested in. And then we're happy then to help you submit your application for any properties that you wish to rent. We'll review your lease for you before you sign, and then just provide you with any advice on moving in and setting up your utilities and things. For doctors who are coming to Ireland with children, we're happy to help you in your search for a school or a childcare place. So once your hospital location is determined by RCPI, we'll work with you to establish your requirements. We'll contact the schools or the creches to establish vacancies, and we'll forward on options to you for your consideration. Once you're here, we're happy to make appointments with the schools or childcare centres for you until you're sorted. Excuse me. Then kind of once you're here and you're settled in your permanent accommodation, we'll give you information and advice on things like setting up an Irish bank account, mobile phones, setting up utilities, your health insurance, information and advice on driving in Ireland, if you wish to rent a car or buy a car, how to apply for a PPS number, or any kind of questions or anything like that you might have. If you need to register with a GP, we can research and send GP options close to your accommodation to you. Excuse me. We can give you information and advice on public transport options close to you. And then contained in your welcome pack, we provide you with information on local prayer facilities and ethnic food shops. As I mentioned earlier, we provide ongoing support to trainees, so for the entire duration of your program. So things that will support you will be helping you to renew your IRP card when the time comes. If you're rotating to new clinical sites, we'll help you then just with advice on moving out of your current accommodation and securing new accommodation in your new site. If you have further education requirements for your children, again, we'll assist you with them. As I mentioned earlier, third country visas, family visas, will provide support and advice on that on an ongoing basis. Every year when you have and advice on moving out of your accommodation and closing your bank account and just making your final departure arrangements. So really, any questions or issues at all of a non-academic nature that you might have during your program, just feel free to contact us at any time. So I kind of hope that gives you just a little bit of a background or some information on what we here at Castell offer to trainees before you arrive in Ireland and after you arrive. So thank you. I'll hand you back to Diana now.
Thank you very much, Clina, for the great overview about the program and everything that is expected for you as trainee here with us in Ireland. And thank you, Hannah, to provide us this brief information about the amount of support that Castells offers to our trainees before and during the training here with us. So I think it's very important to say that this is a structured and supervised program, which means that we will be supported also as well for the RCPI team. So I'd like to invite Dale, who is the team lead of the International Affairs Department, who will look after all the candidates and all the trainees when they arrive here in Ireland. So Dale, can you tell us a little bit about your work and the kind of support that your team provide for the trainees during their time with us here?
Yes, of course. So first of all, thank you for everyone for attending today. My name is Dale Finnerty, and as Diana said, I'm the team lead for the international training team. So as soon as you formally accept your offer, you'll be referred over to the international training team, and that's really where you'll begin your journey for coming to Ireland. You will have a dedicated program coordinator who will work with you and support you on your onboarding journey as you prepare to come to Ireland, and also during your program as well. So the support really doesn't end there, it continues on. Once you've been referred to us, we will begin collecting documentation. So don't worry when that point eventually does come around. What we do is we need a lot of documentation to facilitate the onboarding process. And we've really tightened our process up. So instead of coming to you sporadically for each of the documents we require, we try to gather it all at the start so that we're not back and forth to you and bothering you with that. And it's really, it's also a way for us to try and support you better as well and more efficiently. So we work collectively with our partners in Castell Education, and we really look to leave no stone unturned to allow smooth transition to Ireland. Ahead of your arrival, the training team will arrange an information session with more specific details for each area for your onboarding process. We also have a Q&A session during that call. However, we do invite trainees to request individual calls if they feel more comfortable asking questions to us one-to-one, because we know sometimes it can be difficult to put your hand up in a call with so many people. We work with you along the way for each of the requirements needed to train in Ireland: English language, sponsorship, medical council registration, your atypical working permissions, and also your entry visas. And putting you in touch with your site also and trainer ahead of your arrival. This is really key here as well, and we communicate the sites to you as soon as we have them. We understand that that's a really important key piece of information that you need to know in terms of working with Hannah and Castell to arrange accommodation, childcare, etc., or any other needs. So we really look to get that to you as soon as possible. And as soon as we have the information, you can be rest assured that you will have it also. What we do is we apply for the atypical working permissions on your behalf. And we can only do that once you receive your medical council certificate, which is then forwarded to us, so we can apply for your atypicals. Once we have your atypicals, we forward them onto yourselves in Castell so that you can begin applying for your entry visa to make your journey to Ireland to begin your training. We also work with dedicated clinical tutors who provide you with free tutoring tailored to the RCPI exams. And this is a service we are really delighted to offer our trainees. And as mentioned previously, the service is offered for before you start on your program for your MRCPI Part 1 for your entry requirement, and then also during your training program to achieve full MRCPI as the exit exam. Your program curricula is also updated annually, and a copy of the updated curricula would be sent on to you ahead of your arrival. During your training, we will offer you full support for any queries you have throughout the training program. We also coordinate annual assessments between you and your program director at the end of each training year, and also attend end of post assessments. These are facilitated also through our online e-portfolio system. So everything's tracked and documented, and you have access to that as well, following the assessments. Hospital rotations are managed through the International Training Office, and we make contact with each site, and you will rotate to ahead of your arrival to make sure everything is placed. The internal rotations through specialties are managed at a site level for general internal medicine, and we will also communicate those to you as soon as we receive them from the site. We use an online portfolio called ePortfolio, which you will have access to log all of your training activities. We provide full training on this to any incoming trainees at induction, and then also upon request ongoing. So if you're having any issues on it, we always invite the trainees to reach out to us so that we can provide training or support for any issues you may be having with the system. We understand how important it is that a trainee feels supported during their training, and our team go absolutely above and beyond to provide that support. We always ask our trainees to bring any queries or concerns to us as soon as possible, and then we do our best to help. While it isn't always possible, depending on the request, you can absolutely rest assured our team will do our very best. Upon completion of your training program, we also work to ensure that you have your certificate before you leave Ireland. And this is to allow for any local verifications that need to be completed in Ireland before returning to your home country. So we will be in contact with you about your date to return home and your final end date to try and get the certificate to you in a timely manner. So I invite any questions, but I'm going to hand over to my colleague Diana now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you so much for your presentation. So we understand that this is a very complex process that have so many nuances since the application and living abroad in another country. So we just want to make you sure that we won't be alone through this process. So from the beginning until your graduation, we will be part of your journey. And even after graduate, we will become part of the RCPI family. So it's a relationship that starts now in this webinar and will be for the rest of your life. So just to make sure that we will be supported during the whole time. So I would like to ask now the doctors who are present to open their cameras. We thought that would be nice to talk with those who are in the program, the clinical directors, and also two lovely graduates and trainees that we have here. So just to give you an overview, our program started in 2018 with internal medicine, and Dr. Sherian was the head of this process. He's with us since the beginning. He's the program director of this residency program in internal medicine. And then in 2020, we started to offer the pediatrics program, and we had the opportunity to have Dr. Asma Miliani with us. She just finished her course, her training with us last last month, and now she's a graduate of this program, and she has been a wonderful ambassador, and she will be our voice in Saudi Arabia, sharing all the experiences and the outcomes she got through this program. So first of all, congratulations, Dr. Rasm, in your achievement and in your course. But before to hand over to our doctors, trainees, and graduate now, Asma, I would like to ask Dr. Sherian to share a little bit with us an overview about the postgraduate medical training here in Ireland. How is it structured, and what is expected for the trainees to see when they are here?
Okay, thanks very much, Diana. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. And thanks to Cleana, Hannah, and Dale for a very nice comprehensive overview of all the supports that are offered to the trainees coming. So you're all very welcome here. My name is Danny Cherry, and I'm a gastroenterologist by trade and a consultant at Beaumont Hospital, which is part of RCSI here in Dublin. And as Diana mentioned, for the last number of years, I've been involved as program director for the Internal Medicine Programme. So internal medicine training in Ireland is intense, it's varied, and I think, you know, highly valued and recognized overall throughout the world, which is something we're very proud of, and I think something that you're here for to try and be part of as well. And I might just to be relatively brief about it, just to show you, I'll share a slide very quickly, just to show you how the Irish training structure works. Hopefully this will work. So hopefully you can all see this, but typical Irish training starts off with internship, as many of yours would be. And typically this is 1 year where candidates rotate through medical and surgical specialties, and these are called interns as part of the team. Following on from that, you go into basic specialty training, and specifically from a medicine standpoint, BST training is typically 2 years. Amongst the hospital, these doctors are called SHOs, or senior house officers, and the main goal for trainees during this period is to get a large volume of medical on calls, rotate through the various core specialties that were previously mentioned to you. And of course, the most important factor is that they get through their MRCPI exam so they can become members of RCPI, which then makes them eligible for higher specialist training. For trainees from Ireland that continue on, they then enter in higher specialist training, or we call them specialist registrars or registrars. And this can take, you know, on average about 5 years, during which time they typically will undertake an MD or a PhD as well. And then after this is done, they'll often go on to do subspecialty fellowships in whatever area, say interventional cardiology, or in my area, advanced endoscopy, whatever it is. So you can see that it typically takes somewhere in the order of 10 to 12 years post-graduation to achieve consultant status here in Ireland. So it's quite a protracted process, but the final outcome of this is you have someone who's very experienced. So where does the international program fit in? Well, we've sort of planned it amongst the BST at the BST level. Initially at its inception, this was actually a 4-year program where the first year was conducted in Saudi, but now we've amalgamated this to a 3-year program here post internship, where you'll be doing 18 months essentially in one hospital in Ireland and 18 months in another hospital in Ireland. And we've carefully thought about this in terms of trying to pair hospitals that are what we call level 4, which are the sort of the large tertiary referral academic centers, and level 3 hospitals, which would be considered slightly more district general hospital, which might have a flavor for more general medicine. And the important thing to be aware of here is this is exactly what or very similar to what the Irish BST candidates also do. So to give you an idea here as well, on a typical 2-year rotation, this is for a BST candidate, for example, you know, they rotate every 3 months, and they would be going through the various specialties, you know, acute medical unit, neurology, respiratory, GI, cardiology, and they would be doing this over a 2-year period. In a 3-year program that we would envision for the international residents, that extra year will afford people to either do a second rotation within a specialty that they have interest in. For example, if someone wants to do gastroenterology twice or cardiology twice, that'll afford them that, but also perhaps to do some of the non-core internal medicine specialties that they might have interest in, depending on if the hospital is able to offer that. For example, hematology or oncology. immunology, things like that, that might be more subspecialty type things to do as an elective towards the very end of their 3-year program. And from my standpoint, my main role is to, sorry, I'll just stop sharing the screen for a second. My main role is to ensure that from a clinical and academic standpoint, people are progressing appropriately, that they are rotating through the appropriate specialties, and any troubleshooting, for example, if there's performance issues or if there's difficulties with on-calls or anything like that, that I'm involved with as soon as possible. I conduct end of rotation assessments for all the residents going through, and then annual assessments to make sure that people are progressing. And for the large part, everyone's been doing very well with no clinical issue, thankfully, and people are getting their membership exams and finishing up without any difficulty. So that's an overview to the training program. I'd be happy to answer any questions now or later on, but otherwise I'll pass you back to Diana.
Thank you very much, Doctor, also for give us a good overview about the training in post-medical graduate perspective in Ireland. So I would like also to hand over to Dr. Mike to ask him a little bit about the format of the pediatric. Are the rotations the same? Is the format the same? Can you tell us a little bit about the pediatric perspective, the pediatric program as well?
Okay, thanks very much, Diane. And thank you for the previous speakers and Danny as well. I guess the pediatric program is slightly different. And I would say that for our trainees in pediatrics who do the BST, they do 2 years, and they do 4 6-month rotations, of which 6 months has to be in neonatology, a year in general pediatrics, and a year in a subspecialty, which is quite random. The International Residency Training Programme is actually quite different, and in many ways our trainees are envious of it, because most trainees, or all trainees, will start off with 8 months outside Dublin in general pediatrics to enhance their ability to problem solve the acute unselected symptom complex of children who are presenting. And then they spend 22 months in Dublin, 4 of which will be in neonatology in a tertiary care centre. And then they will enter into 5 3-month rotations through subspecialties. So we have designated metabolic medicine, neurology, cardiology, and gastroenterology as the essential ones. And then there is an option, if somebody has a special interest, to take a 3-month rotation in a specific subspecialty. So that in general brings people to 27 months, and at which time then they're moved up to what we call a first-year SPR equivalent. And they spend 3 months in a tertiary care neonatal unit and 6 months in their base hospital where they initially started off. So at the end of the 3-year experience or exposure, they've got their exams, and in those years they attend all the teaching courses that the regular Irish BST trainee will attend. But as you probably already know from looking at the literature on this course, we have ensured that they pass their exams with relative ease, because we've got a tutor specifically for them to bring them through the part 1, the part 2, and the part 3. And, they're the core elements of the program in the pediatric elements of it at any rate. Okay.
This is great.
I can take any more specific questions if there are some.
Very good. Yes, as far as we could see, both programs are very dynamic, so they rotate in different settings, in different cities as well. So it's a very good opportunity for them to taste medical environment in Ireland. So Dr. Rasm, you are now finishing your journey with us. How was for you to live it in Ireland and being trained in this environment? What kind of thing that you think that it was really important in your learning process, and that you bring back to Saudi Arabia?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. It's always a pleasure to do so. Well, overall, to give a more general opinion about my experience, it was fantastic, to say the least, in a very simple way. I think I was very lucky to have an enormous amount of support from RCPI and from my program director, Professor ONeill, who has been a massive support in ensuring that my training objectives and my goals for this program were met and fulfilled, and even in improvising them and shaping them to suit my learning needs. It was fantastic because every subspecialty that I was able to do was done in a tertiary national centre. So gastroenterology was in the National Centre for Gastroenterology, cardiology was in the National Centre for Cardiology, metabolics, and so on. So I think I was very, very fortunate. It was like I got the best of everything, if you like, and I'm very grateful for that. You can really see a massive difference because I took a 6 months leave or 6 months break from my training to go back home for personal reasons, and I was able to really see the difference between my training and between local training, that within a year and a half of training in RCPI, I was much more skilled in terms of practical skills like IV lines and bloods and things as such, and even in terms of the ability to approach the acutely undifferentiated child and approaching them, and a safe level of confidence in a bit of independent decision making and clinical with appropriate supervision, of course. So I think it's a very excellent program. And for it to be that excellent and at that high level and that high standard from a clinical and academic perspective, it will be challenging, but nothing good ever comes easy. So it really requires trainees to level up and be able to give in and give what it takes to be able to be shaped into such an excellent, a good amount of, to develop that excellent judgment and become a good, safe clinician.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rasm. It's very good to see and hear your excitement about the program and see that you learned so much. I imagine you are now in a midst of sadness and happiness, finishing the program and coming back to your country. So we just want to thank you so much again for all your support and your vision to the program. So how about you, Dr. Sutton? You are now in your second year. How is the training being for you so far, and what do you think is the strength of this program comparing to other programs, for example, that you've heard about in other countries? Tell us a little bit your vision about it.
Thank you very much, Diana, and thank you to the speakers before me as well. My experience in Ireland so far has been very positive, and truly I'm echoing here what Asma said, that I feel very lucky to be training in Ireland. And the quality of education is really top notch, and you get plenty of opportunities to practice and hone down your clinical skills. I was lucky as well to be in a neurology centre in Dublin, in Beaumont, and you really get good at what neurologists do in here, and you feel your levels are more comparable to a specialist or a reg when you go back home, when you're just an SHO in here or a resident. Now, with that being said, also nothing is ever easy. It's obviously challenging, and the most challenging part of the training program is really the time management skills. So you have to be able to organize your time, micro-organize it even, to be able to pass your exams, meet the team needs, and achieve your own personal goals. And I also have to thank Dr. Chirian here, who's the director of the program and my personal tutor as well, for facilitating my choice of rotations and facilitating time for me to go into areas of my interest.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sutton, for sharing your experience and your view as well of your time here with us. So Dr. Chirian, so we are receiving a few questions about entry requirements, and exam is something that is always been on the list of the questions. So what can you say about the exam preparation? Do they need to have the exam on the time of the application to join the program? And Dr. Michael, is it possible to have MRCPI in internal medicine and apply for pediatric with MRCPI in internal medicine? So first of all, Dr. Denny and then Dr. ONeill about the exams.
Sure. So yes, exams unfortunately are part of our life for many years, and there's no difference here. In order to be eligible to apply, in the slides that Cliona had previously shown you, you don't require the exams in order to be eligible to apply. Having said that, there's always an advantage if you have on your application that you've completed, say, UAssembly exam, PLAB exams, MRCPI exams. There's obviously an advantage because it's shown that you're at a particular stage in your career where you've designated some time and scholarship in order to get there. So there is an advantage just from an academic standpoint of having any exam. Once you are successful, but it's not a requirement for entry or acceptance to the program. Once you are accepted onto the program, thereafter to actually start in Ireland, then you need to have one of those exams that was listed out in order to start. And that's primarily for registration with the Irish Medical Council. And we are in some negotiations to do with the MRCPI Part 1, just because of timeline difficulties we've sometimes come across. But in general, what you're seeing on the screen in front of you now is the quite firm guidelines that are required to actually start in the program. What we have found, though, is it does take some time from a period of time where someone is accepted to the program to get a formal sponsorship, to get the English language exams, et cetera, sorted out. That can take a number of months anyway. So we generally give up to a year after acceptance on at interview to commence the program. That's generally what we've been doing to afford enough time. And as Professor ONeill mentioned as well, we're very fortunate. We've followed in Pediatrics' footsteps, and over the last year and a half now, nearly 2 years, I've had a clinical tutor in internal medicine, which has been immensely helpful for our candidates who have been successful at interview, that before they come to Ireland, they get onboarded in terms of exam preparation, particularly how to pass the Part 1, and also once they're here as well. And that can be done virtually. And once they come here as well, regular structured exam preparation for the Part 2 the Part 2 written exams as well. The clinical MRCPI exams, all the teaching hospitals that we select have regular, both didactic and clinical, series of assessments and practice sessions to get through the actual clinical part of the MRCPI. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, very much. And it's very good that you highlighted that support is provided. We have clinical tutors, so it's not an easy exam to pass. So it's very good to make sure to the candidate that this support will be provided as well to prepare for the exam. So Dr. Michael ONeill, do you have any information about, is it possible to? Yeah.
Okay. So the Part 1 in medicine wouldn't be accepted in pediatrics. And I guess that the Part 1 in pediatrics is really a background information type of exam, which is important for the candidate to have. And just to reiterate, when people are accepted onto the program and they're in the process of coming to Ireland, we do start the tutors with the trainees, preparing them for the Part 1, because in pediatrics especially, we would expect somebody to have Part 1, move to Part 2 within 6 months, and move to Part 3 within 6 months after that. So, and we have got all the appropriate tutoring and the skill sets and the practical training for the exams as well, based with our tutor, who is actually based in Temple Street in Dublin. So, so the answer is no. Part 1 in medicine is no good, but getting Part 1 in pediatrics is relatively easy with the right supports.
Very good. Thank you so much, Dr. Michael and Dr. Danny, for your answer. So I want to ask you to Dr. Sutton. Dr. Sutton, what advice do you give for those candidates who are applying for the program? So you recently applied, you are not recently, but you are still in your second year, so it's very fresh memory from you. What was the challenges and tips that was useful for you in your journey that you think would be useful to share with our audience today?
Sure. So this might be a little bit more specific towards trainees applying from Saudi Arabia because of my background. But often in Saudi Arabia, when you apply for a scholarship or for financial support to be sponsored in RCPI, it usually means that you have to be unemployed to apply for that. And if you are unemployed during that time, I would suggest that you work on your exams, your MRCPI Part 1 specifically, because going into training with that done, it just relieves a lot of stress moving forward, and it's a good use of your time while you're waiting for approvals, visas, Irish Medical Council registration, etc. So they all take months and months and can build up to a period of up to 6 months. So it's a good thing to get your exams out of the way very early. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton. Dr. Rasm, would you like to add something in terms of tip that you think that is good for them to have in mind in order to apply to the program?
I have loads, but for brevity, I'll summarize them into the most important, I think. I think that similar to Sultan, my experience goes back from Saudi Arabia. So generally the training in Saudi Arabia, and what interns and fresh graduates know, is that they'll have a year to prepare for their part 1 and then another 2 to 3 years to prepare for their part 2 and clinical exam, whereas in Ireland it's very different, and you need to get all these things done in a relatively brief period of time compared to Saudi. So my advice is to really devote yourself to your studies and to make sure that you clear the membership exams as soon as possible for multiple reasons, not only so that you can get those out of the way and then you can focus on more research and things like that, but also to prove yourself to your colleagues and to your mentors and to your supervisors. And with that knowledge in your pocket and under your belt, you've got a lot of learning that you're able to do when you have your memberships cleared. You know a lot of the basic theory knowledge, so you're able to translate that into your clinical practice, particularly if you are able to step up them as an SBR equivalent, which will not be, I imagine it will not be possible if you have not cleared your MRCPI in time. And that's the most important advice I'd say I'd give. The second advice I'd say is to really make sure that you build a good network of colleagues and good relationships with your mentors, your supervisors, your colleagues, and with the college. They're really here to support you. They're really here to help you succeed in your program. Be mindful of that, appreciate that, and take advantage of it, use it. But also remember that it's all one team. Working in Ireland is it's very good in the sense that all the team members here are here for each other. There's a lot of good teamwork, there's a lot of good communication, colleagues are there for each other, they support each other. So you remember to give in your share of that, to be supportive of your other colleagues, Irish or non-Irish, help them out. There's the lifestyle in the workplace, it's challenging, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of calls, there's a lot of shortages. Make sure that you put in your fair share of support as well, and you will receive that, and you will gain and you will thrive together as a team. And that's very, very important, and I'd say a cornerstone to the success of your experience here. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Sutton, Dr. Rasm. Yes, it's indeed to be immersed in the experience and use all the resources available to support you during the journey, right? Thank you so much for your comments and your advice. So we are trying to get some questions here during our conversation, but I'd like to ask Clina to reply and give some advice in terms of sponsorship. We are hearing a lot of questions in the chat about that. Who is eligible to participate of this program, and how is the sponsorship requirement addressed for the candidate? Thank you, Clina.
Thanks, Diana. So this, the residency program, it is a partnership with approved sponsorship bodies, and that's from Saudi Arabia. At the moment, we are working towards Bahrain also being approved as well. So that's for the residency program, those that are eligible to apply via the sponsorship option. So really, today is just for people from Saudi Arabia and Bahrain at the moment. We do hope to extend the residency program throughout the Middle East countries, but at the moment, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. So as we mentioned before, when you apply, you do not need to have your sponsorship confirmed. It is useful to have it, but you don't need to have it confirmed. But you will need it before you start your placement. So you can submit your application, you can have your interview and be offered a place. And then you really need to work on getting your sponsorship confirmed from the sponsorship body as well. Okay.
Super clear. Thank you so much, Clina, for this clarification. I hope this information will help those who were questioning. But if you have any more specifically requests regarding if my hospital is partner or not, if my university is partner or not, you can address your question to us and we can engage with you and reply properly. So Hannah, maybe this is for you, or the good number of questions are also regarding to the English requirements. So questions like if my university was not taught in English, am I able to apply? Or if I studied in a English speaking country university, do I need to have OAT or IELTS? Also, if you can talk a little bit about the expiry date of this exam, so I think it would be helpful to clarify some doubts of our attendees in this afternoon.
Sure, of course. So yeah, if a doctor has done their basic medical qualification, their primary degree in English in an English-speaking country, so if they've studied in Ireland, the UK, Australia, the US, New Zealand, then they're actually exempt from the IELTS or OET qualifications, so they don't need to have an IELTS OET certificate. So the IELTS or OET, it's important to note that it should be valid for 2 years. Your certificate should be dated within 2 years of the date that you apply. So if for example, a doctor does apply, but their certificate expires, then Castell can always just provide them with a little bit of support, and they'd have to just resit another IELTS or OET exam just to make sure that they have a current or in-date certificate. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hannah. This English requirement is something that it's always a concern, so it's very good for you to give this proper answer. So we have some questions about curriculum, rotations, format. So I just want to say to the participants that all of this information are on our website. The curriculum is available. You can have a look at the curriculum, both for pediatrics and internal medicine. And again, if you have any specific question, you can hand over to us. So I am conscious of the time, so I'd like to ask Dr. Danny and Dr. Michael to share their last advices and last words about the training with us, and what do you expect to see in the candidates, and some advice that you think it might be helpful for the attendees during this afternoon. Let's start with Dr. Danny. Yes, very good.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Anna. So look, what I'm looking for and what we're looking for is exactly the same as what I would want in any of our local Irish trainees that are coming to work with us as trainees. So I want to see people who are enthusiastic, who are motivated, who have shown on their CV that they've had a forward progression in their career. And actually, as what Sultan, quite correctly said, was there are periods of time where you might be between jobs, et cetera, et cetera. That's not necessarily a negative thing if someone has shown that they're actually using that time wisely. So that sort of forward progression in career and motivation is hugely helpful at the time of an interview. I would also really recommend that anyone who is applying to the post or for the program, when you're coming for an interview, to read about the program and have a good awareness of the program, because that always looks very good at an interview, that you've done some research about it, you understand the expectations, the entry requirements and all that, all of which is, as Diana said, available on the website. And as Asma quite correctly said as well, being here recently, in internal medicine or pediatric training, no matter where you are in the world, it's a hard graft. And I think that is what has to be expected. And I think that's what tunes you into being a good physician or again a good pediatrician. And I think that's what you have to expect coming here. Nothing comes easy. It's hard work, but I think the outcome and reward for it is excellent for those who get through it all. I'll hand you over to Prof. ONeill.
Hi, Danny. I would reiterate what you've actually said. What we're looking for is what we look for in our own trainees, somebody who is interested in pediatrics, who's passionate about improving themselves, and who's got a focus on a safety culture to enhance patient care of families and children. And I think what I would say is that I myself left Ireland to train abroad. And I think if you're an adventurous type, then this program is for you. It's a different culture. It's a different way of learning, which is important. And I think if people push themselves, they'll be excited when they get here, and they will learn and make friends with people who will be their colleagues in future. And I think that's really, really important. And as Asma said, it is tough, but team is central to what we do. So we tend not to be in isolation. We tend to try and work in teams. And I think the one thing you would be surprised about here, our structure is flat. So this concept of having a senior colleague that you would defer to automatically. No, we expect you to become an independent thinker, become creative, and then sort of look and understand how the program is structured. And I would strongly recommend what Danny has said is that if you're coming for interview, please know how the program is structured. We're going to ask you that because we want you to come with your eyes wide open and be enthusiastic. So I'll hand you back to Diana on that.
Yes, this is a really valuable advice, Dr. Michael and Dr. Danny, thank you so much for sharing. So I just would like to ask Asma if she would like to say the last words, and also what you're going to miss more about your experience here in Ireland. Probably this beautiful weather today. Today is sunny. So your final words to us, Asma, please.
Oh, it's always sunny in the Middle East, even in winter. It's sunny winter. But I think I'm really going to miss Ireland so much. I definitely do plan to come visit again. It's a beautiful country. The people are beautiful. They're kind, and they're very friendly and warm indeed and welcoming. I'm really going to miss working in the hospital. It's funny that I say this now, during on-call shifts and overtime hours. You're sitting there, you're like, I'm not going to miss this. But looking back, it's really what made me who I am today. It's really built a strong metal. I'm really going to miss the colleagues, the working environment, the flat structure, if you like. It was really nice to build up your own character and confidence and to shine and promote your strengths. It's been a lovely experience and I'm very, very grateful. Definitely, I'm very proud of being part and a member of the RCPI family. It's a beautiful experience, and if you're brave enough and if you're strong enough, you're lucky to get accepted and experience it. Thank you
so much, Dr. Asma. And we will certainly miss you, all your commitment, all your professionalism, and all your passion for the program. So we wish you all the best in your journey back to Saudi Arabia, and we hope to continue having you as our ambassador, as our supporter of this program. Thanks so much for everything you've been doing for us and for the program. So Dr. Sutton, would you like to say a final words to the candidates and all the audience here today?
Yeah, thank you, Diana, and thank you, everyone. I think this is a great program to apply to, and the more time you put into it, the more you get out of it. And if you're passionate about internal medicine or pediatrics, it should definitely be your priority to apply to it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sutton, and all the best to you in your final year. Your journey is still going on, so we wish you all the best during your program, and keep counting with us with everything you need. So Dale, would you like to say some final words or any consideration to this brilliant audience today?
No, just thank you so much again for attending today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're always very happy to answer any questions and just to offer any support, even before you start, you start on the training program or before you even apply. We're always very happy to answer any questions, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dave, for all your work and all your team working to make this program happen. We are delighted to have you. So maybe Hannah, final words from Castell. What do you want to say to our audience today?
Thanks, Diana. Yeah, I guess as just a final word, I know it can be really, really stressful, kind of overwhelming, daunting, moving to another country. But again, I suppose this is what RCPI has put in place for you. This Castell support to you is free of charge. So any of that non-academic things, we're here to try and help you with that, support you through it, try to make that little bit easier for you so you can focus on your academic, your work side of it. So again, take full advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Maybe you, Clina, can remind the people if the applications are open, until when? Can you give the final words and invite them to apply?
Definitely. Well, I'll just also echo what Dale said. You know, if you have any questions at any stage, please do reach out to myself and Diana. We're more than happy to talk to you about any part of the process. And I believe applications are now open, Diana, is that correct? Yeah, and they will be open until the 30th of September. So, you know, just remember that you don't have to have what you need for the applications, you know, proof that you've finished your medical degree through English, that you've done your internship, and you know, and then there's other parts that can wait until later on in the process. So you don't need everything when submitting your application. And yeah, look forward to hopefully meeting you during the interview process or meeting you when you arrive in Ireland in January 2025.
Thank you, Clina. Clina, can you please just correct the email? I'm just not seeing that I put a wrong email. Can you please just correct for me? Yeah, so I just want to thank you again, all the participants, Dr. Michael ONeill, who is our pediatrician voice in this program, Dr. Danny Sherian, our internal medicine voice and supporter. All the best to Dr. Rasm in her final days and final weeks here in Ireland. All the best also to Dr. Sutton in his journey with us. Thank you, Hannah and Dale, for your always amazing support. And Clina, thank you so much for the partnership and the friendship in everything we are doing here to promote this opportunity for the doctors in the Middle East. And thank you also for this great audience. Thank you so much for all of you who are stopping a moment in your academic studies on your work to join us this afternoon. We are delighted to have you. So please keep in contact with us. And if you need any support or any information, we will be more than happy to support you. Okay, so have a lovely evening in the Middle East. And for us here in Ireland, please enjoy the sun. The sun is beautiful today. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.